Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. It's a beautiful autumn day here in West Yorkshire, UK, and what better way is there to spend the brief daylight hours than being out in nature, walking the woodlands, the hills, and for hunters of historical bits and pieces like I am, adding an old dump site into the mix. So this is my plan. I've walked through the woodlands to get here, and now it's up onto the valley edge, along the road there for about 2 miles, see what the dump site on the edge of the moors has to offer, enjoy the views, and the weather conditions are ideal to turn the sky red with the sunset for the walk back. Half of the sky is bright and a wonderful azure blue, and half is cloudy with mist in the valleys, and the sun is low in the sky behind it all. I think the sky will draw my eye and the camera to it more than usual today. Currently entering the small hilltop village called Old Town, which is part of Wadsworth Parish, mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1086, and that is relatively modern compared to some of the history up here on the hills. For example, where we're going is an old quarry, which when it was dug in 1897 disturbed the remains of an ancient burial site, and a mile further along the hill there is a Bronze Age urnfield site on top of a moor, where burials of cremated remains happened between 3100 and 3600 years ago. I used to run, and one of my running routes took me past this derelict farmhouse. I drew and wrote a one-page comic about it once, called The Runner. The words went like this. Sometimes I run past a ruined farmhouse on the edge of the moors. It's a lovely place, and I can't stop myself from daydreaming about the house that I could build there. I've designed and redesigned it over and over in my head. If only I had the money and the freedom, I'd run off to travel the world and forget all about it. I'm not sure that that's all still true. I don't run anymore since I bashed up a knee, and I think that even though I'm more keen than ever on travel, I'd now like to keep a base in this area. Such a project as this, though, bringing this tumble-down 17th century farmhouse back to some semblance of human habitability, is relegated in my thoughts, due to being entirely beyond my resources, for the foreseeable future anyway. For filming purposes, I am very glad that the dump site is under the blue bit of the sky. It would be good if the wind behaves itself too, which it probably won't, and sadly I have forgotten the muffler for the camera microphone, but we're here, so let's see what can be found. The approach is interesting. Don't know if these little bits and pieces are the top of a buried trove of things as yet unfound, or scattered from the holes that bottle diggers have dug. There does appear to be quite a few shallow holes where digging has happened, but they are as nothing compared to this spoil pile, which I kind of assume is actually spilling down the hill rather than being the whole of the hill. And here's some things that someone has left, too neatly arranged to have rolled here. I think I shall get myself a glove on and start seeing what I'd like to take. First bottle, I quite like the proportions. I think the residue of whatever it once contained would be difficult to clean out, and that shouldn't really be a consideration in whether I take it or not, but it kinda is. The teapot. Oh dear. A striking design though it is, I don't think I'm going to take it in this condition. I see some copper, and that I will take. For anyone new to the channel, I have collected up almost every piece of copper and brass that I found mudlarking, mostly waiting for me to fire up my forge, which I hope to have all the safety gear for before Christmas. A little ladder of copper wire. Any ideas what it was? And this bottle is a nice colour, apart from the remains of what's inside. Butterworth. Bottler, Halifax. Beer bottle, I think, circa 1910-ish. I know that because I found similar. None with a vulcanite stopper before, though. As I suspected, too small a hole to account for the whole hill being a spoil pile, so somewhere beneath the spilling down spoil is an unspoiled bit of a dump site, and if someone was to, say, fill in the hole with the dug-out material, they could then dig down further and maybe find some decent bottles. Another Butterworth beer bottle, one is enough, and a small bottle in the apothecary style, which I like. This, I think, will be my base camp. Little bit of verdigris. Little bit of copper wire. Sorry, that spin was a little faster than ideal. Compo. I've been finding quite a few of these recently. Medicine for the common cold. Now these bottles don't exactly look placed by the bottle digger, more sort of part of the spoil pile. Maybe the rain has washed the spoil off them. So did the bottle digger miss them? And if so, is there going to be nice green intact poison bottles left in the spoil? What's this one going to be? Ah, a Vino's lightning cough cure, another one that I've been finding a fair few of recently. Not to say that I won't take it, it looks in better condition than the one I already have. Down in the hole. Interesting texture. And a tiny bottle. So cute. My girlfriend has always loved the tiny bottles, and so my appreciation for them has slowly grown almost to her level. Now, I did see something over here. Bit of brass, the remains of a Victorian gas pipe, likely ripped out of a house once electrical wiring came along. Bit of blue and white, looks to be in the style of willow pattern, although that kinda looks like the front of a rowboat. I'll take it. So many things just lying in the grass, but anything good is more hidden than that, hiding amongst a lot of mediocre bottles. A bit of cranberry glass. This would make some good sea glass if it was tumbled around in the surf for a few decades. Might make some interesting beads, if I ever gather the kit to give that a try. plain. And Sons. Whitaker and Sons. Ooh, little lead toy. And it's uncannily like the one I accidentally left behind at the big cliff Dumpsite, except apparently painted red on one side. And a partial ornament of a young girl riding on the back of presumably her mother, which seems quite incongruous for how they're dressed and how people dressed like that are supposed to behave as presented to us in modern media. I almost like it. Don't know what I can do with it, but I'll take it. See pickle jars in that style quite often, but is this a vase or a weird pickle jar? Not my taste, anyway. That's more like the sort of thing I like to find. Glass battery. This one's one of the ones that get stuck together in series with, well, one more. Any more lurking around? Ooh, see that? Bottle stopper, glass. Nice condition too, clear glass, and it's, can't quite read it. Fletcher's of Selby, purveyor of fine condiment sauces since 1915. Well, between 1915 and sometime in the 1990s. Pond's cream, standard size glass jar, probably the thing I find most often when out larking, if I discount all the natural things like stones and plants. Little bit of copper wire, more verdigris than metal now, but I'll take it. Bit of copper or brass tube, not exciting, but this is a decorative piece of brass, probably an accent for some leatherwork, not sure what, but I'll take it, clean it, see if I can see any details. Ooh, well, it's broken, but I like to see that a site once had such things as nice big blue poison bottles. Means they might still have such things. I see poison ridges. It's a screw top, but a fairly unusual shape for a poison bottle, and it does say not to be taken, faintly on the middle ridge. So once again I shall go against that little command, and take it. Gah, these thorns and nettles are hiding something. Down here looks like a spherical bottle. Slightly flat bottom, which makes sense, but it's still a bit small to be sensible. A slight nudge and it would roll over, perhaps spilling the contents. The contents do look to mostly still be there, and they're grotty. Cleaning this is going to be a tough job, but I think I'll give it a try. First such bottle I found, after all. I'm not sure that the vegetation here will die down much further than this, so if I wanted to find all the best treasures hiding amongst it all, I'd have to bring a scythe. And if I was bringing a scythe, maybe I'd bring a shovel too, if I could get permission off the landowner for a little dig. Ideal Table Waters, Armley Road, Leeds. I think I'll take it, and the ones I've had to put down to pick this one up. Oh, there's something. A nettle, and a brass pot, or something. Is it a lamp? It has glass in the bottom, or a mirror, so yes, I think it's a lamp. Big old car headlamp perhaps, possibly one whose light came from a flame, and the flame powered by gas. At least, that's my guess. Anyone know better? It's been a while since I had the idea that it might be fun to reverse dig a bottle digger dug hole, and I have brought a few bits and pieces to play with today. Got a little hand rake and a trowel, and a little pinpoint metal detector, all things kindly bought for me off my Amazon wishlist. The sieve is something I've had for years. I did not bring all the right kit today, but enough to see if the idea has merit. First find with a pinpointer is some enamelware, not something I want to take, and it seems like the effective range is a good 6 to 8 inches. Second find is my sieve. And third find is actually something I want, nice chunk of brass. So the metal sieve is what I have, and obviously a plastic sieve would be more appropriate for what I'm intending. I'm also wearing inappropriate footwear, so when I get to the sieving part, soil will probably get into my shoes. A little lead, or rather lead alloy, probably spelter by the looks of it, candlestick. It does have scrap value, although I'm not sure I find enough spelter to allocate a separate box for it. A bit of slag by the looks of it, obviously with a bit of iron content. Another fragment of enamelware. A brass and iron lump. So I don't think that my particular amateur activity with this will be photogenic in the video, but I'll keep it in because it's one of the experiments today, simply testing to see whether sifting through a bottle digger spoil pile can reveal much more than just wandering over it looking at the surface can. I think it would be more efficient waving it over every sieve full of material, so long as the sieve is a non-metallic one. Now let's try the sieve. And of course, one of the bits of kit I forgot to bring was a chest mount for the camera, which would make this part much easier. Not great, but maybe just pulling a load in. Yep, better. And shake, shake, shake. A few bits of pottery and glass, mostly ashes. Let's try again with a bit more material. Ooh, now that bottle was not on the surface. I don't want it, but it is nice that there's hidden things coming out. There's a vaguely interesting piece of glass. Looks like I don't know, pipe tamper perhaps. Not really something I want. And the bottle, just for clarity, is a flask-style alcohol bottle. Third sieve load. In the long ago time of my first videos, I loved the small thin bottles like this. I think cleaning them put me off. There's a fair amount of pottery in here, mostly plain and terracotta. Doesn't look like much. There's a bit of verdigris, so perhaps some brass or copper inside. That might be it for what I video of this. I did a few more sieves full off camera. Haven't made much of a dent in the spoil pile. Maybe a square metre of material put back into the hole, and out of that I found a few little bottles that I won't take, like this heavily rust-stained ink pot, this test tube I think, which thinking about it I might take. The ubiquitous paste pot, which I can still be fond of even though I take no more of them. I found this cute little jar, which is just the kind of simple styler thing that I like. A brass ring and a cog from an old clock, which I love finding. A bit of a plate edge with a reasonably nice pattern that I'll take for crafts. And there's the things I found with the pinpointer. I think that's the biggest milk of magnesia bottle I've found. I hope it was effective for what ailed the person who bought it. Another Butterworths of Halifax, too much glass rot for me to countenance trying to clean up. And this is a fairly sweet little doll's teacup. Would perhaps look good with a model of a fairy swimming in it. I see one I like the look of down there. Now how do I get down? Jump. That's quite nice and looks to be in reasonable condition. A&W Cellars Limited, Leeds. That plate looks, well, plastic. And that's not usually on my shopping list, but Caroline of Let's Go With the Johnsons likes old plastic things, and who knows, I might follow her lead. Bandalaster. I think I may have heard of that. Perhaps I saw it on Antiques Roadshow or something. Some brass or cupro nickel, only the end of what was probably once a spoon. Now, this place is not the only quarry site I've found that's been used as a dump site, and they do look similar on Google Maps, as in there's tracks all over them. Looks like 4x4s use it to practice off-road driving, and off to one side there's vintage bottles to find. According to the story from May 1897, ancient burials were discovered here when urns rolled down into the quarry working, and a grave was found, 6 foot long, 2 foot deep, 14 to 18 inches wide. It was aligned north to south and contained a lot of charcoal and a mixture of charred wood and bone, along with some flints, including a very worn knife, and half of a large earthenware vessel. These things, the story goes, were picked up by a local man called Thomas Greenwood. There the story ends, but his house remains, and perhaps the remains remained there. I'm fairly certain that my search will be in vain, but I do hope to one day find some Bronze Age, or even Neolithic, Mesolithic, or Paleolithic artifacts, and here there might be a higher than zero chance of finding something sticking out of the paths or the mud. And not flint, but a cluster of slag glass, which... I don't know why it's here. A cluster like this suggests that maybe iron smelting happened here, but that doesn't really make sense. So maybe just mixed into some rough track-making material that was used to top off whatever's beneath. Where's it hiding? The trowel. There's a few nice pieces, and I fancy trying them in a rock tumbler one day. See if any nice cabochons come out. Very nice stripes of blues and greens. Don't worry, I will fill in these holes, or rather collapse the edges and leave the absence of these few pieces as unnoticeable as possible. Just climbing up to see how the sunset's coming along. Not bad. Think it's about time to get going if I want to explore that tumble-down farmhouse before the sky is set alight by the dying embers of the sun. I am not the first person to go looking around. This path was probably made by hundreds of amateur photographers and a few videographers. There is, after all, enormous beauty in decay sometimes, some sadness and ghosts. I don't mean literal ghosts, though I don't know for sure that they don't exist. I mean the incursion into a visitor's mind of the past of a place, seeing flashes of what life must have been like for not just the last people to live here, but for generations upon generations, 3 centuries of farmers and their families. And then, of course, there's the ghost of future possibilities. Vanishingly improbable possibilities, certainly, but I am a dreamer. I don't think this wall will stand up to many more storms. I should be okay, as long as I don't touch it. Looks like it's quite separate from the first door we went through, so that was probably a farm worker's cottage, and this is probably the farmhouse proper. Those stairs do not look structurally sound, so downstairs is good. There's a portal through to the next room. Hold your breath. Right, let's actually go through there. I'm intrigued by that other doorway. A curtain of vines and leaves. How are there leaves in such a shadowy place? I'm regretting that I did not bring a head torch with me, so although I can see quite well, you, through what the camera can capture, cannot. It has large, wide and deep stone shelves, so a cool room used for storing cheeses maybe, or given the window in here that doesn't actually look like it ever held glass, perhaps it was a space for chickens to roost. Shoo. A later visitor, or perhaps a left thing once owned by the last human resident. Damn, that was not a floorboard, but a piece of wood anyway. Probably very rotten, but part of the rules of exploring abandoned buildings is take nothing but memories and images, break nothing if you can possibly help it. So let's move on, more carefully. Now that is out of place. Little orb. Just a pearlescent melted blob of glass, perhaps created in a microwave kiln and left by a kind visitor to spark a little joy in future visitors. Wish I had something to leave too. Maybe I do. Hefty roof beam reduced to rot. Looks rather like a bird might be nesting in the chimney. Yes, the camera can't see, but I can. It's a big mess of interwoven sticks. I'd guess a corvid, perhaps a crow, or there are some ravens up here. And therein lies the why of why I'd love to one day rebuild this place into a home. It has some of the very best views in the area. This room has no room to move around. It's not the end of the building by any means, so not the end of the exploration. Have to go outside to get to the remaining rooms. It does seem like this bit is a later extension, probably mid to late 18th century, the same style of stonework as the house I grew up in. Not sure what its use would have been. Another farm worker's cottage, or perhaps the farmer's house kept moving down into newer bits as they were built. This low building was probably the kitchen, the last addition. Well, porch, mudroom, and then the kitchen. Looks like the sort of place barn owls would find appealing to set up home. And down here looks like there's been plenty of hoofed animals that have used it as shelter too over the years. No sign of bird nesting materials in the chimney, but plenty of sign of upper sections in the lower section. Amazing how blandly grey the sky can look when the colour and light source has been blocked out by the framing. And outside, oh, my shadow is still lingering inside. If I look like I'm leaving, perhaps it'll get the idea. It's getting close to the part I like best, the brief window when even the blades of grass glow. The sun is going, gone. Roundup time. I'm so glad I was able to capture some of that sunset. It was a good one. And although the camera could not possibly capture what my eyes could, it didn't do it all badly. I hope you enjoyed it. The abandoned farmhouse too was fun to have a little wander around. Do let me know if you'd like more rural exploration videos. The hills around here are dotted with ruins in various stages of decay, all of them bleakly beautiful in their way, if a little harder to get to. I was pleasantly surprised by the Dumpsite. It exceeded my expectations. I still don't think it's a site that I'm going to visit too often though. None of the bottle digger holes looked recent, and there is a slight issue there, in that a lot of the glass things I brought back are afflicted with glass disease, which leaves them unsightly after even the most fastidious cleaning. That said, I did get some bottles without glass disease, and I'm happy with the A&W Cellars Limited bottle, the Vino's Lightning Cough Cure, the Alex Parsons bottle, which is my first one of that shape to have embossing and apparently held iodine, and I am of course happy with the tiny bottle too. I know I said that the little teacup would look good with a model of a fairy having a swim in it, but that's a bit beyond my current skill level, so it might be quite a while before I attempt it. The figurine isn't particularly to my taste, so it goes into a box to be given to other crafters. The plate and cup pieces go into a box ready for me to craft with. I haven't done anything yet with the glass stoppers, but it's always a joy to find them, and this is a nice, good condition example. How gorgeous is this slag glass piece? It makes me want to get a rock saw and a tumbler and see if I can get 2, maybe 3 nice cabochons out of it, which I would then feel compelled to set into jewellery. That's not a project for now. I'm living in a very small house and a rock tumbler is a very noisy thing, which needs to run for 24 hours or more. It would be intolerable. I will keep a hold of them though for the possibility that I might one day have a studio space or live in a bigger house with a garage or a shed. Always nice to find lead toys, toxic little things though they be, and copper and brass things. I do actually have possession of my forge now, which the pandemic got in the way of. I have some of the protective gear and a small amount of equipment now, not all of what I need to safely light up the forge, but getting there. This thing, I'm not really keen on melting it down. I think it was a gas-powered spotlight, which is a pretty cool thing to find. It would certainly take a lot to restore it, and I'm not convinced it's worth the effort to attempt it, but I might keep it around for a while. Restoring things is something I would like to have a go at. That's for fines, and there's a few thanks to follow. A thank you without end for all the kind donations people have given through Ko-fi, which have allowed me to replace and upgrade video making equipment and buy materials for videos at a rate that I haven't been able to afford for at least the last 7 years. It's no small thing to feel like I'm making significant progress towards goals, like the craft channel. And since the last video, a few more things have been purchased from my Amazon wishlist, which move us a little bit closer still. David Rice has been incredibly generous and has purchased a soldering iron kit, which I plan to use primarily in making some craft things light up. I am not good with electrical things. My brother got all those innate skills, and I got other ones. But skills can be learned, and I am determined to at least learn how to wire up some LED strings and perhaps code an Arduino to control them. David also bought this helping hand, which is pretty much essential kit for electronic tinkering. And he also bought this electronic turntable, which is going to be so valuable for showing the finished things that I'm intent on making. This thing spinning slowly on top of it is a sketch model, not the final project by any means, though I hope to do a short video of painting this one fairly soon, as a build-up to the more challenging piece. Thank you so much, David, for your considerable kindness. It's very much appreciated. They didn't arrive with a gift note, so I don't know who it was who bought me, not one, not two, but all 3 books on model making craft that I had in my Amazon wishlist. I do think that they will teach me a lot, so I can hopefully make better things, resulting in better films. So thank you very much for this wonderful kindness. There has been another purchase or two that either haven't arrived or haven't cleared my postal quarantine yet. They'll appear in the next video. And that's the roundup. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have liked it, then please give it a like. Further options are a comment, a share, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications, and the further options are, and only if you'd like to, you can buy me a hypothetical coffee through Ko-fi, link in the description, or something off my Amazon wishlist, which is ingredients for the many varied videos that I would like to make. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.